Storm Track First Forecast, sponsored by Gary County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Rather cool air in place across the region today has turned into some pretty cold conditions for tonight. We're into the middle to upper 20s over a large part of the state right now, including 25 degrees in Topeka, 22 at Forbes Field, down to 20 now at Manhattan, and Council Grove at 25 degrees. It's cold. It's getting even colder, easily falling through the middle 20s into the low 20s, some areas into the upper teens as we start the day tomorrow. But a pretty good warm up with lots of sunshine. How much warmer will be for Tuesday and when our next storm system arrives, all of that still ahead. Fox 43 News at 9 starts now.
Now at 9, coronavirus cases continue to rise in Kansas. How local funeral homes are trying to keep up with the surge in deaths. Plus, how a limited number of beds could have major impacts for hospitals in our rural communities. And Kansas could soon have a new face on the Kansas Supreme Court. We'll let you know who she is. Increase in coronavirus deaths. Fox 43 News reporter Lindley Lund spoke with the president of a Topeka funeral home about his concerns.
Penwell Gable is one of 4 funeral homes in Topeka owned by Newcomer Funeral Service Group. The president, Ren Newcomer, says since March they've been seeing deaths due to the coronavirus, but in the last few weeks it's gotten worse.
It was also stressing the funeral service providers in our community.
In the past month, the Shawnee County Health Department has seen 43 deaths due to the coronavirus, a jump from 28 in October, causing Newcomer to become even more stressed. For his family, who works by his side, and his employees' safety, being around COVID victims and their families. And to add to that, an overwhelming surge in work.
What we do happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and so taking care of the deceased, it doesn't have a holiday, it doesn't take a break over the weekends, and so any increase in the number of deceased and their families that we're caring for adds stress to their day-to-day.
Newcomer says his staff have had to start sharing responsibilities so that they are able to have adequate time off, and so their customers stay satisfied. And after seeing one coronavirus death after another, he wants the community to abide by the health guidelines and perhaps save a life.
The sadness of what we see in the funeral business are those that are passing of COVID-related illnesses that maybe are passing away unexpectedly or before their turn.
They plan to take it day by day to see if there's any steps that they need to take to keep their staff safe and their services top-notch. In Topeka, Lindley Lund, Fox 43 News.
Moderna is submitting its coronavirus vaccine to the FDA for approval. And tonight, a researcher from Moderna Clinical Trials in Kansas weighs in on the race for a vaccine.
They go forward, then the first to market always does better. Always does better. If I had a company that had an FDA-approved vaccine, I know the government would just consume it, and they would give it to their military and to the nursing homes and the people where they've seen the most devastation.
According to Moderna, the company is on track to produce 20 million doses by the end of December. That should be enough for about 10 million people. A panel of advisors from the CDC are meeting to decide how to distribute the initial supplies of the vaccine. In Topeka and Wichita, Kansans have watched as some of our state's largest hospitals reach capacity. But it's not only major cities that are affected by the problem. A Fox 43 News reporter, Noah Auctioner, went on the road to find out how this could have major impact for rural communities.
Just 15 miles from the Colorado border is Tribune, the county seat of Kansas's least populated county. And in Tribune sits an example of rural health care, Greeley County Hospital, now faced with the reality of COVID-19 and the changes the virus brings to rural health care.
Kind of changed our delivery model altogether. Everything's focused on COVID and COVID response, essentially. However, we've had to do some increase in telemed and home visits. Actually, rural health care out here allows us to do some home visits with our doctors.
The delivery model might be changing, but also changing is the hospital's ability to transfer patients.
So if the ICUs are already full, I think we're definitely susceptible to that risk of not having a place to go, not only with our COVID patients, but stroke, heart attack, all of those conditions as well.
So here's the reality for towns like Tribune. The nearest ICUs are in Garden City and Hayes, both well over an hour away. If both of those hospitals are full, then it's up to cities like Denver, which is over 3 hours away. If Denver is full, then Wichita, 5 hours, and then Kansas City, over 6 hours away. Worst case scenario, you have a stroke or another major medical emergency, and there's nowhere for you to go. But even before COVID-19, small hospitals face challenges, and the pandemic has only brought more focus to the challenges rural healthcare faces.
We're very susceptible to staff shortages. So in relation to our backup stock of staff to fill those positions in the event that our staff is out on quarantine or exposure, we're very susceptible to crisis staffing levels in that event.
No matter how big or how small of a community, COVID-19 is leaving a far-reaching impact on healthcare in Kansas.
That was Noah Auctioner reporting. Watts also wants to remind people that they should not delay urgent and routine care if they need it. So if you are urgently ill, you should still go to the ER and do not skip your regular checkups.
We've definitely seen some cold air in place through the evening hours so far. Most of us into the 20s. There are still a few areas across the west that are holding up in the 30s, but that's because there's a light breeze blowing, so it still feels like it's in the 20s west. 27 at Holton, 24 degrees for Emporia. Manhattan at the airport, it's 20, not quite as cold in the city, but we do have very light wind over the eastern counties, and as I mentioned, that light southerly wind starting to redevelop over the western counties with just enough of a 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze expected after midnight. Temperatures will likely level off. A light and variable wind will keep us into the low 20s with a few spots hitting the upper teens overnight into the morning tomorrow, but a dry night. Clear sky for tonight into tomorrow morning. Clear sky through most of the day tomorrow. A few thin clouds start coming in. I want you to watch what happens as we head into Wednesday. Cloud cover starts to build in and rain starts to mix with snow and eventually starts to change over to snow as we head into Wednesday night. Just how long that'll linger for us, so look at that's coming up.
A man is now facing charges after a deadly crash on the 4th of July in Topeka. It happened near 27th and Fairlawn in southwest Topeka. Police say a driver turned in front of a motorcycle, and that motorcycle rider hit the car and died from his injuries the next day. Prosecutors have charged Richard Lee Richardson with failing to stop at an injury accident, driving without insurance, and failure to yield. A California man pleaded guilty to federal charges today after being caught in Kansas with illegal drugs. Police found Eduardo Arellano Sanchez with more than 9 pounds of fentanyl and more than 8 pounds of heroin in August of 2019. Today, he pleaded guilty to 2 drug trafficking charges. His sentencing is set for February of next year. Prosecutors are asking for an 8-year sentence in federal prison. From our Capitol Bureau tonight, there's now a new member of the Kansas Supreme Court. Governor Laura Kelly announced the appointment of Melissa Standridge today. Standridge is taking the seat of longtime Justice Carol Beyer, who retired in September. Standridge is a foster parent, spending years working to enrich the lives of children in the foster care system. And she has served on the Kansas Court of Appeals for 12 years. Standridge says her experience will help her in her new role as a state Supreme Court justice.
My extensive experience with working with judges and lawyers from across this great state of Kansas and my broad experiences outside the law have prepared me for this challenge.
This is the governor's 3rd appointment in less than 2 years. Votes for the 2020 general election are now officially certified. All 6 of Kansas's electoral votes will be going to President Trump. The State Board of Canvassers met to certify those results today. And state election officials say it's been one of the least contended races in the state, but also one with record-breaking results.
We had the highest number of votes cast, over 1.37 million. We had the highest number of people cast a vote early, over 830,000, which is over 60% of every vote cast was cast prior to Election Day, another record.
State election officials also reported that all 105 counties passed the post-election audit. Electors will record their votes for the presidential election on December 14th. Congress debates a spending bill that needs to pass to keep the government running. Coming up, why some lawmakers say the government is spending too much. And we'll introduce you to a 56-year-old bodybuilder who says whatever you want to happen will happen.
Heading into the daytime tomorrow after cold morning conditions, a lot of sunshine will help to boost temperatures into the 40s, upper 40s late in the afternoon, possibly hitting 50 in spots for the high temperature. A nice day tomorrow before the changes start rolling in through the course of the day Wednesday. A closer look at that midweek storm system coming up.
Congress returns to Washington with just 11 days to pass a spending bill that could help avoid a government shutdown. But as our Washington correspondent Kelly Mayer finds, some lawmakers believe Congress is spending too much as the country's debt continues to grow.
First text I get every morning.
Every day, West Virginia Democrat Senator Joe Manchin wakes up with this message.
The national debt, $26,769 billion.
Manchin says that growing number makes him concerned about what lies ahead for future generations.
I can't tell you that everything's hunky-dory. I don't know how you're going to handle this debt load.
Manchin and a group of bipartisan senators say they're working to tackle the debt crisis before it falls into millennials' laps.
We're now looking at, without question, the greatest generational transfer of money, certainly of debt in human history.
Weston Wham, founder of the Millennial Debt Foundation, is working with members of Congress and the nation's millennial business leaders to reduce the debt.
It's time to make tough decisions. This is not funny money.
This week, Congress is working to pass a $1.4 trillion spending bill to keep the government running, as well as consider annual military funding and another round of coronavirus relief. Manchin says all that spending matters.
I'm making people aware of the debt. I want people to know the debt.
With President-elect Joe Biden recently naming his economic team, the Millennial Debt Commission is now set to meet again just after inauguration as they work to keep Congress and the country on track.
In Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer, Fox 43 News.
We now know who will be taking over leadership at the Shawnee County Health Department tonight. Shawnee County Commissioners appointed Teresa Fisher as the new interim director of the health department. She will replace Linda Oakes, who is retiring. Fisher has worked for the department over the last 15 years, currently serving as their family health division manager. She says her main focus will be guiding staff, continuing ongoing programs, and ongoing response to COVID-19.
We have two main staff people that we will be relying on to oversee our COVID department during that time and the responses. Because I've been so much on the periphery, we are putting COVID into their hands just because it makes the most sense.
Beginning today, the department will begin a nationwide search for a new director until they find a qualified applicant. A man is drawing inspiration in gyms across southwest Missouri. Kevin Harris has just come off of one of the biggest accomplishments of his life. Last month, he earned 2 wins in 2 different classes at the International Federation of Bodybuilders competition in Reno. His story is one of both ups and downs. He had competed in his 30s, took 12 years off, and then got back into shape in his 50s. He says he's grateful for what the entire experience has given him.
2 different things about this journey is the friends I've made from all over the world and the people that I have managed to help and or inspire. I mean, it makes you feel good.
One of the things that we see a lot is the younger generation, especially like the high school kids coming in. They see him working out, training others, and they'll always pick his brain, and he's always wanted to take the time and stop and help them.
Many of Harris's friends say the wins and attention couldn't have happened to a better guy. He works as a certified personal trainer. The Kansas basketball team accomplishes a feat never done before in college basketball. Still ahead, we'll let you know what it is and also preview tomorrow's showdown with Kentucky.
Today we saw temperatures up into the low to mid 40s. Tomorrow, upper 40s to around 50 degrees, a little bit warmer, still cool, especially cold in the morning, but at least cool in the afternoon. And then that storm system starts coming our way for Wednesday. What areas hold the best chance for some snow? Coming up.
Now, your Storm Track weather with Chief Meteorologist Matt Miller.
Clear and cold conditions for tonight with sunshine ahead of us. Tomorrow will be a little bit warmer, and then as we head through the day Wednesday, really depending on how quickly the precipitation moves in, should start off as some rain and pretty quickly over the west, change over to snow, and then most of the area through the evening into Wednesday night, we'll see a change over to some snow, and then that system starts to move out on Thursday, and we should be lining up for a warmer weekend out ahead of us. Mainly clear right now at Emporia as well as in Manhattan. Dry conditions this evening, both in the sense of no cloud cover, but also dry air with a dew point of 17 has already allowed for temperatures to drop back into the low to mid 20s in many locations. That is not quite as cold as it was this morning, but we're getting close. This morning was 22, made it up to a high of 42 degrees in Topeka. Average would be 27 and 47, so a little bit below average today, and it'll certainly be cold again tonight. Don't forget, if you get a chance to head over to Winter Wonderland, that $10 per car suggested donation to Target wraps up here at 10 o'clock tonight, but it goes on every night from 6 to 10. Already have had over 2,000 cars go through the drive-through lights display so far this year. Thank you for obviously a big opening weekend supporting TARC. 20 degrees at Manhattan right now. It's 29 at Junction City, 22 to 25 in Topeka, and Hiawatha sits at 24. The winds aren't really that strong over the eastern counties, nearly calm for a large area, and a slight southerly breeze over the western counties. Those southerly breezes will increase across the region overnight into the day tomorrow. Not so much in strength, just spreading eastward with a 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze. May pick up to about 10 miles per hour at times during the day tomorrow. Not a windy day. It should be a really pleasant day on Tuesday. And then as our storm system approaches Tuesday night into Wednesday, we still have fairly light wind initially. The breezes will pick up a little bit and then strengthen a bit more into Wednesday night. And that's as the colder air starts to move in. And we go from a clear sky to an approaching system, which is currently up over the northern Rockies. This will be dropping southward and spreading our way. All the rain and snow from the wind that we had yesterday, that we didn't get any precipitation out of that, but that has turned into a big storm system over the east. But our attention is really focused on the incoming system out of the northern Rockies. Tonight, clear. Tomorrow, mainly clear as well throughout the day. Maybe a few thin clouds coming in toward the afternoon or early evening. But watch how much we change as we head into Wednesday. We cloud up. Clouds thicken, and by late afternoon, early evening, rain mixing with snow starts to develop. Through the course of the evening, we're still looking at rain with the best chance of snow west, and then into the night, we all get into that snow, and that lingers into Thursday morning before it starts to wind down a little bit. That's several hours, and the potential is there for some accumulating snow, especially western and southwestern counties. Tonight, down to 21 degrees. We're back up to a high temperature of 50 tomorrow, sunny and cool. And then after that, the big change coming in on Wednesday. A mix doesn't mean ice. This is a mix of rain and snow that eventually changes over to snow Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Obviously, everyone wants to know how much. It's still a little bit early because of that mixture to go with the amounts, but I think accumulating snow is going to be a possibility for especially southwestern and western areas before we start to clear out. And now the weekend temperatures are highly dependent on how much snow we get on the ground. If we get a few inches of snow and it takes a while to melt it away, well, then 50s are going to be hard to reach. But if we get only a dusting or so, then that'll be easily melted away, and 50s will be on track for this weekend. But regardless, we should start to clear out and try to warm up toward the weekend.
I'm just crossing my fingers for that dusting. Well, the First Lady unveils this year's holiday theme at the White House. Up next, we'll tell you what that is and show you some of the decorations.
Now, the Sports Minute with Sports Director Pete Francis.
The Kansas Jayhawks are in the history books. KU is ranked 7th in this week's AP Top 25 poll and has now been in the top 25 for an NCAA record 222 straight weeks. The Jayhawks are set to face off with another blue blood tomorrow in Kentucky at the Champions Classic. Both teams are 1-1 entering the matchup.
We're not the team that we will be, and Kentucky's not the team they will be. And this particular game will be, it'll be such a prideful game that I know that our guys will really look forward to competing against them, and I know their guys will as well. And we're both a little bit wounded right now, and usually wounded animals are really dangerous.
They're still a great team. They're athletic on the wing. They're a young team, but still, it's going to be Kansas versus Kentucky, their first go around with a blue blood.
The Jayhawks and Wildcats tip off tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. And Washburn improves to 3-0 tonight with an 81-71 win over Central Oklahoma. The Ichabod's return to action Thursday at KU. That's your look at sports. Kelly.
The White House has some extra sparkle this week. Today, First Lady Melania Trump unveiled this year's holiday decor. Different Christmas trees pay homage to different things like the frontline workers or Gold Star families. There's also a gingerbread White House built with nearly 400 pounds of dough and 25 pounds of chocolate. I wonder if they get to eat it.
Maybe after the holidays are over, but yeah, that'd be good. 21 for your low temperature tonight, sunny, and 50 for the high tomorrow. Heading in toward the tail end of the day on Wednesday, we start to see rain and snow move in. That's the mix. It's not an ice setup. It's a rain changing to snow, and that snow would continue then overnight into early Thursday. After that, we start to clear out a little bit, especially by Friday and on into the weekend. And depending on how quickly we get rid of any lingering snow on the ground, we'd be back up toward 50 toward the weekend.
Thanks for joining us for Fox 43 News at 9. Have a great night.